So who doesn't love potatoes? I know that I do, and I feel like sweet potatoes get all the attention. But what about white potatoes? Why can't they be on your plate? And I'm here to say that they can. I want to bring them back to everybody's plate. I feel like the low carb kind of trend is really, those potatoes have sort of taken a beating. So let's talk a little bit about bringing them back onto your plate. And we are going to be making an herby smashed potato with crispy Parmesan. I think you're going to love it. I'm Judy Matesky. I'm a registered dietitian and culinary nutritionist with Athens Nutrition. So thanks for joining today. For all of those that are live and for anyone that's going to watch this on the replay. It is a simple side dish. It's great for breakfast. It's great for lunch with your salads. It's fantastic, certainly with dinner. So I just, let me walk you through a few steps. I'm using very small, little tiny potatoes. You can really use ones that are a little bit larger as well, but you just don't want really big potatoes because it's just gonna be a little bit harder to have them fit in your pan. So the only thing that I did ahead of time was I just took a big pot, filled it with some water, and I boiled these potatoes. These potatoes took about 12 minutes, and I think it's all really going to depend on the size of your potato. So you're just going to boil them in some water for maybe 10, 12 minutes, 15 at the max, depending on the size, until they're kind of fork tender. So you don't want them to start to fall apart in your water. You don't want to overcook them. Just get them nice and soft. Use your fork to sort of poke through and see once they seem a little tender. Drain off the water, and then that's where we are right now for this next step. So this is the smashing part, which is, I think, the most fun. All right, so you can use the palm of your hand if you want. I'm just going to use the back of the flat side of my knife. And we're just going to take each potato and we're just going to kind of give it a little smash. Now you don't want to break it up so that it falls apart. So we're smashing it just enough to flatten it so that we have flat sides to, when we're trying to, crisp it and brown it in the pan. So we'll just flatten that down. I'm going to pull my pan over here so I have it nice and hot when we're ready for it. So we're just smashing them down again. Not so hard that we're breaking them up too much. Just enough to get them nice and flat. All right. So I didn't do that many because I just wanted to make sure I had enough room in the pan. So now you want your pan to get heated. We're going to add, a tablespoon or two of olive oil to the bottom of the pan. And we'll get that nice and heated up. Just spread it around. All right, that's gonna help obviously crisp these up. So now we're gonna take your smashed potatoes. They're gonna go right in to the pan. You wanna hear it again. Remember, when you're cooking and you're trying to get something nice and seared and browned, you really wanna make sure that your pan's nice and hot, your oil's nice and hot, so that when you put the food in, you really should be hearing that sizzle. If you put something in that's when the oil is not hot enough, it's just gonna get absorbed into whatever it is you're cooking. So, which is what we don't want. We really want that oil to sort of stay in the pan and help to sear off these potatoes. All right, so let me get the rest of them in and just kind of move them around. I'm gonna turn my heat up. All right, so just enough to fit into this. This is a non-stick skillet. If you want to use a cast iron, that would be great. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of olive oil, and I'm just going to brush now this top surface. I'm going to let these brown for a little bit, and then we're going to add the Parmesan so that we want the Parmesan cheese to really crisp up. I don't know if you've ever made Parmesan crisp, where you take baking sheet and you line it with some parchment paper, and then you take maybe a tablespoon or two of Parmesan and you just put it on the baking sheet and put it in a really hot oven. The Parmesan melts and you get these little flat, almost little crisp, like Parmesan crackers. Well, we kind of want that same sort of crispness from the Parmesan. That's what really makes these nice and super delicious. All right, while they're cooking, let's just talk a little bit real quick about potatoes and why we might want to be eating them. So first of all, they're super satisfying, and I think they help to round out a meal, and they really just bring some satiety to our meals. And when it comes to white potatoes, I feel like they just sort of been taking a back seat because sweet potatoes get all the attention, which they are wonderful. Sweet potatoes are fantastic, but white potatoes have their own, certainly their own nutritional profile. Fiber, vitamin C, minerals. The interesting thing about potatoes, and my cousin Deborah mentioned this when I was putting this video, when I was promoting the video on Facebook, that she had heard something about the benefit of maybe with digestion. And when it comes to fruits and vegetables in general, fiber plays a very important prebiotic role, meaning that when we eat fiber, when we eat plant-based foods, that fiber helps to feed our gut bacteria, and our gut bacteria love it and produces, byproducts that are super healthy for our gut. Potatoes also have something that's called resistant starch, and it is a little bit more prevalent in potatoes, and the good thing about that is the resistant starch acts like a prebiotic as well. So our gut bacteria really love to digest it for us, and the benefits we get after our gut digests the prebiotics is really beneficial from a health perspective. When we cook and cool any kind of, sort of carbohydrate-based sort of plant food like pasta or rice or potatoes, when you cook and cool these products, once it's cooled down again and you eat it, we do create more resistant starch in those products. And from a blood sugar standpoint, from gut bacteria health, that's actually a very good thing. So when you make potato salad, or when you cook these potatoes and then maybe you reheat them, that you're producing a little more of these resistant starches, and that's actually a really good thing. All right, so that's just a little side of nutrition. All right, now let's talk a little bit about what we're gonna do. So we have these potatoes browning on one side. Again, I'm gonna even turn the heat up a little bit higher. I'm just gonna take a little bit of salt. We're gonna just salt and pepper them. And then what I'm going to do now is I really want to put I'm going to put the Parmesan cheese on top. So it's, I don't know, maybe about a tablespoon. And it's okay if it gets into the pan. We actually kind of want it to fall into the pan a little bit so that this Parmesan cheese browns and crisps up. So we're going to let this go, and then we're going to flip these. So these are just, the cheese is sort of sitting on top of the potatoes. I'll show you. All right, so you can see that it's already starting to sizzle where we put the Parmesan, and we have the Parmesan on top. And now while that's cooking, let's go ahead and take our herbs. And the great thing about this, it's, an herby potato and Parmesan crisp. So any herb works. I have a bunch of, I always, if you watch these videos, I always have parsley and dill in my refrigerator every week. So of course, that's what I have right here. I have some fresh dill, and I have some fresh parsley, and I also have some leftover tarragon that I was using in our, I think it was like our buttermilk dressing, and it lasted pretty long. Actually, it still looks pretty good. So because I have it, and I'm going to add some of that to my herb mix. You could use mint too. You could use one herb. You could use a combination of herbs. If you don't have fresh herbs, you certainly could use some dried herbs. You just use less, so we don't want to overpower the flavor of the potatoes. But any herb will work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to just flip these over. All right. And then they could go a little bit longer. So this has been maybe 5 minutes in the pan. If you can get a really nice high heat in the pan, that's about what they'll take before you want to flip them. I could have let these go again. I'm always kind of pushing it for time here. A little bit longer, but they're browning on the one side. And the Parmesan cheese is crisping up on the bottom, which is what we want. And now we're just going to take some of these herbs. I'm just going to roll them. So remember, when you're chopping fresh herbs, just to make your life a little bit easier, if you can pull them together into like a little bundle and then run your knife through them, it just makes chopping a whole heck of a lot easier. All right. So again, any fresh herb you have is great. I love them. Just buy them regularly and keep them in your fridge, and then pull them out and then use them for everything. When I make this, I usually make quite a bit of it. I mean, you could roast these potatoes in the oven. I just find that it just takes a little longer. To really get the crispness that you're looking for, you're going to need a really hot oven. It's going to take probably 450 on a baking sheet. And then you'll want to turn them over, and you can certainly do that, and you can do some extra Parmesan crisps along the side of the potatoes, which would be great. I just think it's a little bit faster. I tend to do it on the stove a little bit more frequently, just because I feel like it does make it a little bit faster. All right, so these are crisping up. The Parmesan is really getting nice and little. It's melted and crisping, so we can kind of pull that even off the bottom a little bit. And I'm going to put that on top of some of these potatoes. And then that's pretty much it, because the potatoes are already cooked. Remember, we're just browning them. So it's sort of like a twice-baked potato. So we're boiled the potatoes for maybe 10-15 minutes, take them out of the water. They can sit for a little bit, and then we're just smash them down. And then now we're just crisping them and browning them in the, on top of the stove. Like I said, you could do it in the oven. And now all we're going to do is take these chopped herbs and just give them a little sprinkle on top. The more the better. I just love fresh herbs. All right. So, and here you have it. Here are your herby smashed potatoes with crispy Parmesan. These would be good, maybe even with a little sprinkle of hot sauce would be great. So give these a try. They're fantastic. Make extra, like I said, make extra, have them for breakfast with some eggs. They're fantastic. I warm them up and sort of have them with my salad with lunch as well. It just helps to round out that plate so that you're having, you're always thinking about, plant-forward plate. So if most of that plate can be vegetables and white potatoes count, then that just helps to sort of bring satiety and round out your plate. All right, I hope to see you next week. Remember, we have a dessert workshop coming up next Thursday. It is on Mediterranean desserts. We are cooking some fantastic, delicious, which you can't even believe are healthy desserts. If you want to enroll, jump over to Athens Nutrition's website, sign up. We have a few seats left, so please do if you'd like. We'll do a second workshop in May on just fabulous cakes. Many of them are really olive oil based. And the one great thing about our dessert workshops, what I keep forgetting to mention, is that a lot of them are going to be gluten-free, just naturally. And some of them are vegan as well, so if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so have a great week. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.